Hey guys, welcome back to Take 10. So as usual, introducing me, my name is Hale. I'm from Mishawaka, Indiana. I go to school at Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana, and I love flowers, drawing, and dogs. Hey guys, Sissy Girl and I are back to do our quick little icebreaker before we jump into the lesson. Okay, so as usual, this hat has a fun fact about Sissy and a question for us to answer. Okay. Sissy loves to be held like a baby and will fall asleep in your arms like that. We don't do it very often anymore just because she's getting older, but she used to love it. I'm sure she still does. And then, what's something about your family that you like? So go ahead and turn to a partner and tell them something that you like about your family. So for me, on Fridays and on Saturdays, we get chips and salsa and then we watch a movie. And it's usually like a sci-fi movie or a scary movie. And I don't really know when it started, but we do it pretty much every Friday and Saturday, and I love it. But I bet you guys had really nice stuff to share about your families, and that is awesome. All right, let's jump back into the lesson. All right, so ground rules. When you practice Take 10, we need to use these rules plus the rules of whatever place you're in, just like normal. Number 1, everyone has the right to speak. Number 2, no one must speak. Number 3, everyone must listen. Number 4, no put-downs and no name-calling. 5, disagree on issues, but don't attack people. 6, agree to disagree. And 7, keep a sense of humor at all times. Okay. Last time I asked you to try and remember the problem-solving steps. So number 1, identify the problem. Well, as you can see above, the emotion behind anger is what you're trying to make better. So that's kind of the problem, right? That first requires you thinking through what the emotion is behind anger. And once you figure that out, you've identified the problem. Number 2 is brainstorm the solutions. We encourage you to do this with the person that you're in conflict with, because they're likely to have a lot of good ideas too. 3, choose a solution. So now you have to pick from the ones that you have, and you have to pick the best one for both of you. 4, act on the solution. You have to actually do the thing you said you would do. It's pretty important. All right, so hopefully you remembered that, and now we will jump into our new lesson. Okay, today we're talking about trading perspectives. So what is a perspective? A perspective is a person's point of view, and it's made up of their feelings, their opinions, their knowledge, and all these things act as kind of like a special pair of glasses that you use, and it affects everything you see in the world. But all of ours are different, right? We have different things we know about, different ways that we feel about things, different opinions, and so we all have a different perspective. All of our little perspective glasses are different. It affects how we see everything, and we all say things differently. So what does trading perspectives mean? It means that in a conflict, you would look at the conflict from the other person's point of view. Because everybody sees conflict differently and reacts differently. But if we can look through their perspective, through their special glasses, then maybe we can solve the conflict a little bit easier and we can understand one another better. It can be pretty hard because, it's not literally, I take these off and we trade. You just have to think really hard about their opinions, their feelings, their experiences. But you can do it, and it will help you get through a conflict so much better. So, was there a time when you had a different perspective from someone else? And what happened? Teachers, go ahead and pause the video, and I want the students to talk about this for at least a minute. I want everyone to get a chance to share. What happened when you had a different perspective from someone else? What was it like? Okay, so hopefully you guys got a chance to share what this has been like for you, and I'm sure everybody should have had an example, because this is actually really common. We're always not 100% agreeing with people. It'd be crazy if we all agreed all the time about everything. So an example that I have is that one of my professors that I worked with at school really wanted a bunch of students to follow a certain rule. And she thought that this rule was really important if we were going to have cool opportunities to do stuff. But I did not agree with her. I felt that if we followed this rule, then a lot of people would end up left out, and it would make things more confusing because not everybody would always know what was going on. And in a group, I think that's important, So she was really prioritizing growth and opportunities to do cool stuff, and that is totally important. But I was prioritizing making sure everyone was included and that nothing was confusing. And both of these thoughts are pretty valid, I can look through my glasses and say, it's really important to make sure nobody gets left out. But if I think really hard about it, even though I didn't like what she was saying, I know that it's also important to make sure you have cool opportunities to learn and do stuff. It's totally doable, though. I hope that you guys in your situations also knew how you could listen to the other person and find out what their perspective was. Another thing I want to talk to you guys about today is our needs. So understanding how someone else feels and their perspective can be really, really hard. Because you're not them, you're you. You only have your perspective glasses. So it's kind of hard to just become them and understand exactly how they're feeling. Something that helps, though, is to know that we all kind of have the same basic needs. I tried to outline them, and I came up with about 4. So, 1, we all have the need to make our own choices. Another word for that is autonomy. That's a really big word. And 2, we all have the need to feel cared about by friends, by family, even by teachers. Number 3, we all have the need to feel respected. And number 4, we all have the need to feel safe. Now, how we experience any of these needs probably looks really different. The way my need to feel respected probably feels pretty different from you guys. Just because, I'm a little bit older and maybe we're not from the same place, or our families just act really differently, so we learned differently. But down at the core, we all have some of the same basic needs. And remembering that kind of helps us to see things from other people's perspectives. Even if we don't relate to the thing that they are feeling, if we dig deep enough, we should be able to say, okay, I don't agree with them, but they feel that way because they have the need to feel safe. And then you can think, well, you know what? I also have the need to feel safe. So I do kind of understand where they're coming from. So, to focus a little bit more on our needs and how that can help us understand each other better and trade perspectives, we're going to do this worksheet in our journals. Okay, so it's called Our Needs. Let me read the instructions. We all experience the same needs. That can be hard to see sometimes, though. Read the story below, then answer the questions that come after. Alexis is starting to get angry at her teacher lately. Her teacher always picks a special helper for the week. The helper gets to lead the class in all sorts of things, like in the hall, in the lunchroom, and with class activities. Alexis feels sure that the teacher is avoiding her. She hasn't ever been picked for it. So, which of the needs listed below are not being fulfilled for Alexis? Because she's becoming hurt and angry with her teacher, right? So what is it that's not getting met for her? What need does she have that's not working out right now? Remember, she is not getting picked for this thing in class, and she really wants to be, but she's not getting picked. So what need is she not getting fulfilled? The options are make our own choices, feel cared about, feel respected, or feel safe. And then I also want you to think about, is that how you would feel in that situation too? Why or why not? And then describe a situation you've been in before where you've had that same need that Alexis is having. It could be a totally different situation, but when have you felt that same need? Okay, now I'm going to show you guys mine. So in my opinion, I thought that Alexis wasn't getting the respect that she feels she needs. At least that's how I would feel. If I wasn't getting picked for something and everybody else was, I would feel like, well, like I'm not getting respect, that I'm being disrespected if I'm not getting picked. So I answered, is that how you would feel in the situation too? Why or why not? And I said, yes. If other people are being chosen for something and I am not, I would feel like the teacher is saying that there's something bad about me, like I'm not a good student. And that would make me feel disrespected. So that's why I answered that. But you might have a different answer, and that totally makes sense. Because again, we all have different perspective glasses on. We all have different thoughts about things. And then describe a situation you've been in before where you had the same need that Alexis is having. And I identified that need as the need to feel respected. So a time when I needed to feel respected is sometimes my parents will interrupt me in order to talk about something else. Like I'll be talking about something and then they'll just interrupt and start talking about something else. And it makes me feel like they weren't listening, which makes me feel like they weren't respecting me. That's something that I've had happen before that maybe you have too. But especially for this second question, I want you guys to try and think of a different example. I don't want it to look like mine. It should meet the need that you identify, which could be different from mine, and it should be your own personal story about a time that you felt that way. Okay, so you guys will get started on this in your journal activity folder just in a minute, but first let's go over what I want you to remember for next time. So I want you to remember trading perspectives. A perspective is a person's point of view. It's made up of their feelings and opinions and knowledge, and it's kind of like the glasses that we see the world through. Everybody's got a totally different pair. Trading perspectives refers to looking at a conflict from another person's point of view. If we can manage to do that, it's so valuable because then we can understand them better and it makes the conflict easier to solve. Remember, everybody sees conflict differently and reacts differently. And if we're able to understand why they feel that way, we are going to understand them better and it'll be easier to come to solutions so that we don't have a conflict anymore. Okay, so try and remember what a perspective is and why it's important to trade them, how it's useful. Work on that journal activity, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.